What's the backstory with Carlos Hardy? Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the backstory with Carlos Hardy. That is me. Welcome so much. I truly appreciate you showing up to my channel, clicking that link. I truly appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to subscribe, please subscribe to my channel as well. And also you can share this. Remember what the backstory is all about: helping you to facilitate and to organize your thoughts and to write that specific book or that article or that music, whatever it is you're trying to come up with and write and take from your brain to put to paper. I'm here to help you, and I'm here to help you strategize and be able to put it to paper in a way that's going to make you brilliant at it. Okay, trust me. Okay, y'all, today in the writer's room, it's going to be an amazing read. I've written something extraordinary. You know how sometimes you're at your house, apartment, whatever, home, and you hear someone knock at their door, and it's usually either FedEx or UPS or Amazon worker, and they just some of them look creepy. Let's keep it real. So I ended up writing something for the writer's room that I think you'll really like, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But let's get into it, okay? Remember, I'm not here to monopolize your time, all of your time. I just need a little, because I want to make you a better writer, and I want to make you just really have this sense of structure about what it is you want to bring out of your brain. Now, before we talked about what type of writer you are, we also talked about the different types of writing. Now, today, we're going to talk about your outline. Now, remember, every single person that writes, whether it's a story, whether it's a movie, a script, or a song, or anything, poetry, there's some type of outline that they go by. An outline is extremely important for you to have if you're going to really write a book. Let's keep that real, okay? So you need to understand what an outline is. An outline is pretty much an order of your thoughts, okay? It's an order of how you perceive the book to be, how the beginning, middle, and end of the book. Every outline has a beginning part of it, a middle part of it, and an ending part of it, okay? There's 3 things you need to have in your outline, okay? And in that, the first thing you need to have and understand what this is an antagonist and a protagonist, okay? Antagonist and a protagonist, you gotta have those 2 things. The antagonist is, I'm gonna use Superman for example. The protagonist, of course, will be, let's say, Superman, okay? And the antagonist will be, let's say, Lex Luthor. He's that person that's trying to stop Superman. He's trying to, provide kryptonite so that, he can accost Superman in a way that's going to benefit himself. So an antagonist is someone who is going to literally antagonize you the entire book, the entire movie, the entire script, whatever. They're going to push the boundaries so that they can get you, the protagonist, which could be the superhero or the heroine, or the hero in the actual book. So you want to make sure that you have both of those, because an audience love to be able to root for someone, okay? Whether it's the antagonist or protagonist. Sometimes they even root for the antagonist. Have you ever seen Silence of the Lambs? In that movie, some people were actually rooting for Hannibal Lecter because he had this aura about him that was identifiable, and some people like that. As crazy and weird as it is, some people love that kind of thing. For me, I'm gonna give you an example. I absolutely, and most of my family members, love Halloween, okay? Now we know that we understand that Michael Myers is the antagonist. He's going around butchering people, killing them, doing all sorts of things to people, but we seem to find this refuge, this sense of self in Michael Myers. It's weird because you feel sorry for him, but at the same time, you're like, okay, you're a creepy, crazy guy going around hacking people to death. Get it together, But for a lot of us who love that genre, a lot of us who can identify with Michael, as the antagonist in that, we like him. And then of course Jamie Lee Curtis, her character is the protagonist. So she is trying to not really obstruct, she's trying to combat Michael and figure him out, whether it's through, bringing him to justice. She's a vigilante, of some sorts. So she's trying to bring him to justice, but at the same time, the psychologists are trying to get inside his head and understand him, which pushes and thrusts the story forward. You want to be able to thrust the story forward. So the first thing you need to have in your outline is antagonist and a protagonist. Sometimes it also can be a boat, like in Titanic. The big antagonist was, of course, we'll say it was the iceberg, but then the boat itself sinking. You're fighting against to stay alive, against to stay afloat in the boat. So you definitely have the duality there that's going to shift your story. So, and you want to make sure you have that. You want the people to root for whichever person you're pushing. You want, because sometimes you may think that the people are going to be rooting for the protagonist and they're rooting for the antagonist, and vice versa. So you want to be very, 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 very vigilant when you're doing your writing of those specific characters. It could be a neighborhood, could be bad, a bank could be the antagonist. There's lots of things. You don't have to necessarily be a person. It could be a thing, a place. It could be, me, I love sci-fi, so it could be, some crazy made up creature that you tend to make up. And that's what I do all the time. I tend to make up things. My imagination is really vivid, just so you know. Number 2, okay, in your outline, you must have a beginning, middle, and end, okay? So when I go in to write my outlines, I'm very, very strategic and particular in how I write it, okay? In my mind, now some people may say this is crazy, but you just have to do what you do for you. But for me, what I ended up doing is I'll understand how many chapters in my mind that I think it's going to take me to write this story. Okay, let's say, for example, we're talking about Halloween. I'm thinking about the time where he's developed as a character. The time that he's created as a character, born in the middle, which will be when he is first killing, and then the end, of course, and when they catch him and things like that. So you got a beginning, a middle, and end to every single chapter, and the entire outline. You have to have a beginning, middle, and end. Okay, if you do not have that, you're going to find yourself running yourself in circles, and you don't want to have that. It's like I say, it's fairly easy for you to create an outline that makes sense. Okay, and each chapter. Okay, let's say, for example, you have 20 chapters. I usually do between roughly 20 to 25 chapters in my books. And as you grasp writing more and more, you'll begin to understand what's a comfortable, I would say a comfortable chapter number for you. And when you begin to understand that and understand that, oh, okay, I can write 20 chapters, I can write 30 chapters, I can write 40 chapters, whatever your heart desires is yours, okay? Whatever you decide to write, it's on you, because it's easy to overwhelm yourself. So if you start smaller with, let's say, about, let's say 10 chapters, maybe 15 chapters, I think that's sizable enough where you can really get it done in an effective way without overwhelming yourself. The goal is not to overwhelm yourself, because once you overwhelm yourself, you're going to put it down and you're not going to come back to it for a while, okay? So on the outline, let's say we're going to do 15 chapters. I'll write chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and I have my 15 chapters on a piece of paper, or for myself, I usually use my iPad, or I'll use my Apple computer, my Apple laptop, and I'll write the 15 chapters, okay? And at the very beginning, I'll write what's happening at the beginning of the story and how I want it to end, okay? You have to have a beginning and you have to have an ending. And sometimes, because I've written a book where I didn't even know what the ending is going to be, I just let the inspirations of the ethers just find me, and before I knew it, it just came to me. The beginning aspect of your book or whatever you're writing, the beginning part of it is going to be an introduction. You're introducing the characters, who they are, what they're about, what their opposition is, and also you're going to be introducing their antagonist. you can introduce the antagonist in the first, what we call first act, first couple of chapters, for 1, 2, or 3. You introduce your antagonist, because who wants to read a book or watch a movie and you're not finding out who the killer is, or you're not finding out who, what they're investigating until like the movie's almost done. You're like, what is this? You want to make sure, if you are writing, that in the very beginning, that first chapter, first 2 or 3 chapters of your book, that you are presenting to your audience, the person that are glued and staying with you in your book. You want to make sure that they're happy, they're excited, they're compelled to turn those pages, and they're moving along. So in the outline, going back to the outline, I'm trying to keep it there for you. Find your antagonist, find your main character, whoever your main character, in the beginning. Once you find it in the beginning, they begin to move. You'll begin to shift and shift and shift from chapter to chapter. In the very middle of your book that you're writing, the very middle of it, you should have something that's going to be what we call a plot twist. Okay, you can have, some people love it. Like me, I love plot twists. And what plot twists are there? Sometimes there are things that you thought that it was, but it ended up being something else. For example, in Matrix, you may have thought that Neo was the one, and then ended up in the middle of the book, he's not really the one. It's actually Morpheus who's the one. But the writer led to us. The writer had guided us into thinking that Neo was the one from chapters 1 through 15. I mean, 1 through 10. Then by the time we got to chapter 11, Morpheus ended up being the one. So it's a twist. You're like, what? So now your mind is jumping. You're like, what the hell is going on? What are we going to do? You're trying to figure it out as you're reading or as you're watching or whatever it is you're doing. You're trying to figure it out. That's the point of a plot twist. Number 3, in your outline, okay, you got to have what we call a climax, okay? A climax is pivotal. Okay, it's imperative to have something that's going to be intense, that's going to have your audience salivating at their mouth. You want them to be so enthralled in your writing and enthralled in your story that they're turning the page. So when that climax hit, it sends them over like, oh my God, I knew this person was the killer, or oh my God, I knew she would get shot, or oh my God, I knew she would, have the baby, or whatever the case may be in your story. If you're writing, nonfiction, you can definitely do that climax. It's the same thing, okay? It's the same kind of structure you got to have to your outline. Remember, you got to have a beginning, middle, end to every chapter, and the entire outline as well. Every chapter should be a beginning, middle, and end. Something happens, we're going here, we ended up over here, then all of a sudden, oh my God, there's a cliffhanger. Okay, a cliffhanger to every single chapter. I try to have a cliffhanger to every chapter, and usually I'm very successful at it. You could be successful at it too. You just have to think hard enough. What's going to get the person who's reading your book? What's going to get them to turn their page? That's the point of writing a compelling, intriguing story. People like different things, but inherently in you what's going to get you to turn. So you end up writing, okay, I'll have her do this, or I'll have him do this, or they won't do that, and you'll have to go to the next chapter and figure out if they really stole the money, or if they really jumped off the bridge, or whatever the case may be. Whatever you're writing, remember, there's got to be a cliffhanger. So to recap, number 1, you got to have an antagonist and a protagonist in your outline, so you know who they are, so you can develop them over the course of the chapters. Number 2, you got to have a beginning, middle, and end to the entire outline, but you also have to have a beginning, middle, and ending being the cliffhanger of every single chapter. Please have a climax. You got to have this climax, this intense moment with your protagonist or your antagonist, or whatever's happening in your story. You got to have that moment where audience are with you, because they're going to be with you through the whole way. No one's going to just read the whole book and say, okay, forget about it, on the last chapter. They want to know what happened. So you want to make sure it's intense, whether it's fun, whether it's funny, whether it's dramatic, whether it's suspenseful, whatever it is you're deciding to put there, you have to go with it and make sure that it's not anticlimactic, but it can climax in a way that's going to send your reader over the edge. That's always my point when I'm writing my books. I'm always trying to get the audience and make them think something, then it ended up being something else, and at the end it's like, oh my God, this happened. Oh my, Carlos, what are you doing? You're killing me, So I'm that's my goal, and I'm always want to do that, and I want you to do that too, because I know that you have something in you that the world wants to read, wants to hear, and wants to see. So please, follow the outline. You can do research on outline. They're all there. Remember, there's a million things people are going to say about an outline or anything that I said. There's going to be always opposition, or there's going to be always different ways, or different ways to vary how to do it. But just make sure you have an outline, because without an outline, you're not going to be able to write your book. I'm telling you, you're going to have a jumbled disaster. It's going to be a jumbled mess, or whatever it is you're working on. Remember, you can apply this stuff to everything in your life. Being able to apply whatever I'm saying to your life. An outline to get the job, an outline to writing the script, an outline to starting your training courses for working out, or an outline to losing weight. Whatever it is, I know if you write that outline down from beginning, middle, and end, you're going to be successful. Okay, so that's the outline that I wanted to help you with, and like I said, I hope you take it and you push yourself and write it down first. See it first. See it on that page. Once you see it on that page, once you see it, you're going to be fine. It's going to come easily. The ethers is going to open up. The world is just going to just make way and room for you, and you're just going to be writing, and it's going to be incredible. Trust me on this, okay? So that's that part. Now it's time to go into our writer's room. Remember, we're talking about this guy at the door. So we'll see. I won't say much about it. I'll just read it to you. It's a late evening on a Sunday. The sun's beaming rays spill into a window inside a modest kitchen. The dimming sunlight trickles over the aging features of an elderly woman. Mrs. White is a retired nurse that lives in a reasonably quiet neighborhood. The heavy wrinkles in her face indicates she's in her late 80s. Her fragile exterior carries her from the window to the back door. She opens the screen door, ushering her cat inside the house. "Are you hungry, Mr. Whispers?" The friendly feline strokes its body up against her leg. The gentle gesture works perfectly. The woman tosses a handful of treats to the friendly furball. Suddenly, the phone rings. The soft chimes coil in the woman's ear. She shifts from the door, lifting the receiver. "Hello?" Her voice is fragile and reeks of exhaustion. "Hello?" No one is there. She shrugs her shoulders before continuing with her evening. "I guess they didn't like us, Mr. Whiskers," she says with annoyance in her expression. The elderly woman reaches inside her microwave for dinner. She carefully transports her dinner from the counter to the glass table. She's been on her feet for the better part of an hour. Feeling her legs buckle, she sits, releasing a weary exhale. A single candle rests on the table. Mrs. White pats the surface with her palm, searching diligently for the lighter that sits directly in front of her. Her eyesight has all but failed her in her later years. Her brittle voice shakes with frustration. "Where is that lighter?" Her hands finally settles on the lighter. She grips it with care, lighting the candle. "Perfect, Mr. Whiskers. Now we dine." Suddenly there's a repeated pound on the front door. Mrs. White grabs her cane from a chair. She cautiously uses it to balance her weight. The elderly woman staggers into the living room, approaching the door. "Who could that be, Mr. Whiskers?" She peeps from the blinds. Her vision is slightly blurred. She can faintly see the outline of an obscured image loitering. The curious woman quickly shuffles to the door. She secures the lock with a mighty clank. Mrs. White elevates her voice, an act of hoping to intimidate the unknown visitor. "Who's there?" A man's gravelly voice sounds through the deep cherry wood. "It's Amazon. I have your package." "I didn't order a package," she snarls back. "Are you Nancy White?" Mrs. White reluctantly answers back, tilting her head for answers. Yes, I am. I have your package, ma'am." "Open the door, please." Mrs. White wobbles back to the blinds. She sneaks another peek. This time, she widens her eyeballs, hoping to place a face. Her arthritis-stricken limbs carry her back to the door, curiosity bleeding into her next question. "Where is your van, sir?" There's no van there. The man doesn't answer. Mrs. White can now only hear her panicked thoughts roaming at the edge of her mind. Hello, sir? Are you there? The elderly woman slowly backs away from the door. The banging immediately starts again. This time, they're harder and louder. Conflicted and afraid, she cowers in a nearby corner. The banging abruptly stops. She pauses, hoping that he's gone. Her bare feet slaps against the tile flooring as she tiptoes to the door. Her earlobe rests gingerly on the cherry surface. She listens, her eyes frantically darting from left to right. From the corner of her eye, she can see her cat scurry from the kitchen in a frenzy. She moves closer. Mr. Whiskers? What is it? The elderly woman jogs her memory before remembering. She moves as fast as her brittle bones will allow. Her hands ease on the wall surface, directing her slow crawl towards the kitchen. Entering the kitchen, she notices the screen door swinging back and forth in the summer's breeze. Her heart thumps profusely through her linen bathrobe. She can't seem to pull a string of thoughts together. Her cat creeps back to her side, seemingly there to protect her. Miss White finds the courage and breaks from her emotional paralysis. She saunters towards the open door with caution. Trepidation has its way with her, halting her courage. Her fragile bones quake uncontrollably. The frightened woman makes up her mind. It's now or never. She inches closer to the door. Her gaze is obscured and penalized by the immeasurable darkness surrounding her. Is anybody there? Soft chirping from the night creatures drown out the unsettling silence. Is anybody there, I said? She eases closer to the door. Her vision faintly sharpens. She can see an outline of a person standing in the doorway. Who are you? No one answers. Mrs. White turns to find that her cat has sprinted into another room. She spins back around and the unknown figure from earlier is standing right in front of her. Her screams are soon muted by her neighbor's barking dog. I wrote that story because I like remember we were talking about the outline, and like I said, my goal is to give you a beginning, middle, and end. And every time I do one of these these sessions, or I call them going into the writer's room, when I write that, it's merely based entertainment, but I want you to look at the structure. I want you to look at what I'm doing and how I'm pushing the story, and not dropping the story off, but kind of leaving it there for you can think about the possibility of what happened in that story. So that's the climax and the suspense and the cliffhanger I was telling you about. You didn't know what happened to this old lady, Mrs. White, but when you use your imagination, you begin to think about what happened to her, and you have all these different thoughts in your mind about what you thought happened to this lady. And that's the whole point, I promise you, of this show, is to open up your mind, open up that imagination to that story that I know is sitting on your heart, is sitting inside you. You're gonna bring it out. It's gonna be easy. Well, not gonna be easy. Let me stop lying to you. It ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna be challenging, but at the same time, if you devote yourself and devote some time to it, you're gonna be able to get it done. Trust me, you're gonna be able to get it done. Just follow me, subscribe, of course, follow me. And this is going to, each video will help you. Each video will give you, will enlighten you on better ways of writing, better ways of understanding story. You'll begin to actually, after you watch, lots of videos, you'll begin to, when you watch movies or when you read books and things like that, you'll begin to understand what the actual writer is doing. But I thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel. It's going to be great. I can't wait to become a bestseller. I want you to be a bestseller, period. Let's keep that real. I want you to be a bestseller. I want you to thrive. That's what I want you to do. I want you to thrive. As usual, you can buy my books if you want to buy my books on the link down there. All available on Amazon. I have 5 there. You can buy those if you want. If you're inspired, everything's about inspiration. If you're inspired, subscribe, of course. And I thank you so much for joining me again. And I will see you again. Until next time, I'm Carlos Hardy. And remember, don't be a dream killer. If you don't know one, it means you are one. I'm Carlos Hardy. See you later.
What's the backstory with Carlos Hardy? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't forget to subscribe.